Amazing. Our next guest is Judy Apps. She is a TEDx speaker and author of 5 books on communication, including The Art of Communication and best-selling The Art of Conversation. She is published in 11 different languages and has appeared on Sky News, The Daily Express, and the BBC. Judy coaches people from all walks of life, from heads of international corporations, BBC journalists, and members of the European Commission, to opera singers, a police hostage negotiator, and the singer Adele's chief makeup artist. She writes regular articles on everyday matters at judyapps.co.uk, loves family and friends, singing, you got to talk about that, the countryside, and is increasingly interested in the state of the world. As a late developer, she admits. I am tickled and excited to welcome Judy to the Permission to Shift main stage.
My huge pleasure. I'm really happy to be here. You've obviously been at work already then. What time do you get up? It's tea time here. I'm having my cup of tea.
I am part of the 5 a.m. club, so my body wakes me up at 5 a.m. every day, almost exactly. It's crazy. But we started at 9:30 and we have been, today is all about support and the things that we need to create our foundations. And so they have just created their support comments, the things that they would love to have supporting them, and then turned them into now statements so that their brain will see them. So when you say it, they can do it.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
So we did start a little bit early. So I would love to ask you, before we jump into the conversational, which I'm so excited about, how did you get into being a conversation coach? And what was the shift you had to make?
I think it was a life of shifting. Yes, the shift I had to make. Well, I think like a lot of people, and particularly as used to be, at least for a lot of women, I embarked on a career. I was going to be the greatest singer the world had ever heard. And it didn't quite happen like that. I got a scholarship to Italy, but I didn't make all the highlights that I wanted to. And I was really happy when I met the man of my life and got married and had children. And I suddenly thought, oh no, this is life's job. This is life's job. And then, a couple of years later, I went back into the workplace, and I went back starting to do odd bits of lecturing. I was already a craft maker, and so I did courses on craft, various things, and eventually got absolutely fascinated with what makes people tick. And I started to run courses on the whole business of how we get on with other people, how we get our needs met with other people, how we understand other people, etc. And with the lucky serendipity, and I think this was the shift, really, in all this lecturing and training and so on. Somebody one day said to me, I love your voice, and I love everything you say about presenting. Would you coach me in voice? Now, I knew a lot about singing, and it all applies to spoken voice, incidentally, everybody. So that's where I did something that felt really weird, and I felt unqualified to do it. But very, very quickly, I realized that actually these two strands, the strands of understanding what makes people tick and voice, came together. And I think that's the huge fortune of anybody's life, where all the bits and pieces of your life, the successes and the failures, come together, and you realize, everything I've lived so far is useful in what I'm doing now. And then, of course, you're in the place that you're just really happy to be, and every day is fun, a joy, satisfying.
Let's now, I know you have a plan for our people that will apply everything you've just said. And would you like to just throw them straight in?
I do have a plan which starts not with me, but with you.
Oh, with me? Oh, I thought
Well,
it started with them.
no, I'm talking to all of you, with all of
Oh,
you, right? Um, but my introduction to that is to say that making a shift probably feels as if it's all about you. It's all about finding the way that you can do this, and that it's up to you to find the way with all the help. Wonderful, wonderful, but it's up to you. But actually, the whole of life is not us on our own. Whatever we want to do, whatever we want to shift, will involve other people. Very early on, I did an assertiveness course. And, one of the things having young children was, I don't need to be picking up the kids' toys now that they're 8 and 10. Really, they could do it themselves. Well, my shift in that learning didn't go down particularly well. you know, my saying it didn't make it happen. you know. So whatever we do involves other people. Maybe people close to us who won't quite appreciate what we're trying to do. Maybe people who can offer us help, because every time we step over a threshold into a new way of being, help does come. Help comes from surprising places, but we need to be ready for that. So everything we do is about connection and about communication. And that's why I thought my plan for today would be, let's have a start, which would be, okay, let's just chat with each other for the shortest time. Then we'll come back. Then we'll go into all sorts of things with lots of questions from you, I hope, about what we're dealing with and the changes we want to make. And then come to a grand finale of our hour, which would be going into little groups again with something a little bit different. And then seeing what comes back after that, leaving a little bit of time after that to realize what the shifts have been. Does that sound like a good plan?
you guys excited about this? This is practical application coming your way. Sweet.
I don't know how many people have been here for all 3 days. Congratulations to all of you that have. If there's anyone who has just joined this morning, don't be fearful about this little breakout. What I'm asking you to do is this. I'm hoping that you're going to be put together with somebody you've never met in your whole life before, who might even be on a different continent from you, who knows? Somebody who talks English. What I want you to do just for 5 minutes is to talk to each other. In other words, meet each other. Somebody you've never met. Here you are, you've got 5 minutes, just as you might do. I don't know, you walk into a party or you walk into some event. There's somebody there. You just talk to them for 5 minutes. And then we'll come back and see, okay, how does that work? There are no rights, no wrongs, no necessity to be super engaging and absolutely amazing. Just a normal sort of, okay, here's somebody new. I wonder what it's like to talk to them. Does that sound good?
I see some terrified faces, some cheering, some thumbs up. We got the full spectrum.
I know. So please don't run away. Please don't run away if you think, oh no, this is too much for a Sunday morning. It's 5 minutes of your life, and then we'll come together and we'll have all sorts of lovely things.
Lindy, can you break them into groups of 2? Kira is not present in the room, so please don't put her with anybody. And we'll do groups of 2. We'll do 5 minutes.
See you soon.
See you soon. It was a delight to talk to you, Annette.
Thank you, same here.
Lindy, can you pull down the breakout session screen, please? Thank you.
Lovely.
So we're missing about 10 people. Are they in breakout rooms, Lindy, or did they flee in terror?
Well, I have to say, some of you, if you were very successful in getting into the breakout rooms, you might have felt it was a bit more than 5 minutes, because it took a while to get everyone sorted into their room. But meanwhile, I was reading some of the chat, and I see that when I mentioned loved ones not always loving change, we got a couple of nice things here. Somebody says, yes, I feel my loved ones aren't ready for it. It drags me down. Yeah. Then somebody else, oh yes, my daughter keeps telling me to stop workshopping her. Oh yes, don't you know that too, Anna? Don't you have people say, stop coaching me?
Oh yes, 100%, Don, I feel you.
Yes. Oh, somebody's got a laptop broken down. That's a shame. All right. I have a feeling that some of you, having been here for various sessions already, you might have plunged into the most amazing, deep conversations. But I put this out here as a general sort of meeting somebody new. I have a couple of questions. One is, who felt just a bit tense, a little bit tense about, okay, let's see how this is going to go. Some people definitely yes, some people say yes, some people are not committed, some are yes, exactly. So for a lot of us, it's even the tiniest thing. The tiniest thing, which for me was always the biggest thing, was where you were in some sort of meeting situation, some bright spark said, okay, let's all introduce ourselves, shall we? And you got this going around the table, one by one, and you knew it was eventually going, oh, hello, I'm Judy Apps, yes. And yet it was such a small thing to do, but felt a little bit tense. Another thing that happens, something that happens to the voice when you meet somebody new, is that a lot of us will make a special effort. What's the difference between the ordinary sort of me, the me that's wearing pajamas down my bottom half, and actually I'm not, but and the me that greets you. And the me that greets you says, oh, hello, how's you doing? Really pleased to meet you. And makes that sort of effort, which sort of comes into my shoulders and reaches out to you, yeah? And done for the best possible motive. I want to show you that I'm friendly, but actually sometimes it hits somebody, between the eyeballs. Whoa. Who in their pair found that actually they sort of ended up doing all the talking? Some people did most of the talking.
Deborah, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
Who actually find they were the person who sort of asked the questions, and actually it felt like the other person was doing most of it. So it happens that way, and it might just be serendipity, because you only had a short time and maybe you started with a question and the other person had plenty to say. But it's an interesting thing to discover about yourself, because some of us always put everything into the other person's court. So we ask them loads of questions. All right. Sometimes it's a very wise thing to do, but other times it's because we prefer to hear what the other person has to say. But we don't reveal very much about ourselves. There's something about conversation where a sort of equality is really helpful. You might have found that the person you met looked, I don't know, older and more established than you, or kind of a bit grander than you, and you automatically felt, okay, I'm the subordinate here. That also alters this. So it's quite an interesting thing that happens. What about the subject? Who have you talked about? Who talked about the weather to start with? Nobody. Oh yes, okay. A couple of people talked about the weather. Yeah, a couple of people talked about the weather. Who talked about, this weekend and what you've been getting out of it, or that sort of things? Quite a few. What else? What else did you talk about? Perhaps you could throw a few things in chat. Okay, somebody said, I love meeting new people. Yeah, changes. So some people talked about making shifts obvious, because you have that in common. Location and jobs, relatives. Yeah. Somebody met somebody she met yesterday. Yes, so you carried on. Hobbies, where we live, where are you from? exactly. Weather, some always complain, yes. That's all just great. That's all just great. If you talked about those everyday things, it's the perfect way to start a conversation, because you don't want to put any pressure on the other person at the beginning. There's nothing more scary than somebody who looks you straight in the eyes, first time you've ever met them, and says, so who are you really underneath?
Whoa.
So everyday stuff is just perfect. And everyday stuff is nothing that's quite you. So, you know, if I ask, so what do you think about the current state of the government? That is asking for an opinion, and that's perhaps a little bit early. But talking about the weather, yeah, fair, you know, talking about your journey here, yes. Talking about hobbies you like, yes, absolutely. Where you live, where you come from, all easy, easy things. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of that. And there's nothing wrong with doing anything else either. But the main thing is for the other person to feel comfortable. So anything too pressing that they need an opinion is too early for some people. I don't know if you can remember being, 13 years old, and somebody in a group says, oh, so what music do you like? And you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I really like Beethoven, but I can't possibly say Beethoven. What can I say? I say, oh, I don't know really. What do you like? And we kind of, we don't want to share an opinion too early, because we're afraid it's going to divide us rather than get us closer together. But the problem, or the potential problem with conversations, is that many of our conversations stay with exactly all that stuff. In England, we can talk about the weather when we've known somebody for 25 years, talking about sort of, on your holiday. I think of hairdressers in particular, the kind of thing that hairdressers talk about, at least in England. Where are you going on your holidays this year? All that sort of thing. And you say that. Your hobbies. And the problem with that is that you tend to be talking about that thing. So you don't get closer to the person because you talk about that thing. So I say, oh, holidays. Yeah, we went to Greece last year. Oh, did you? Yeah. Did you like it? Oh, yes. I particularly recommend the so-and-so islands. And you go on, and you talk about Greece and how you get there and what the travel arrangements are and what the weather's like in June, and all very interesting and good fun. But if you've known somebody for a very long time, or you want to get intimate with somebody, talking always about something that's out there doesn't actually get you to a place where you get closer to that person. Getting closer to that person is going to involve things like opinions and things like that. But you want to find a way, how do I get from that early conversation to something deeper? I'm guessing that on this course this weekend, you've had so much stimulus and inspiration that it's very easy to meet somebody who's on the same event as you and perhaps talk in a very deep way, because you've already passed that barrier of being the kind of person that spends a whole weekend to learn about themselves, right? Huge thing in common. So that enables you perhaps to tell somebody you've never met before about something that is actually, you would feel quite vulnerable about, to talk to somebody in the cinema queue or something like that, because you already know you've got that thing in common. Shall I just carry on talking, or have you got a question for me? Because shall I carry on?
They all look pretty wrapped. Do you have any questions?
All
You
right.
can pop them in the chat. Carry on, says Anne.
Carry on. All right. I want to shift now to to making a shift. The problem with making a shift is often feeling stuck. When we're feeling stuck, we feel perhaps an even greater desire to be in control. In fact, it might be that our lives feeling that they're not really in our control, that makes us think, I want to get more control over my life. I really want to control what happens to me. And that's absolutely right. And I'm with you on that. And yet, you can always hear in a conversation when there's a but coming, can't you? But actually, in many, many ways, the desire to control is the enemy of learning to fly. And if you want to shift, you want to fly. It's a poem, isn't there? There's a poem about standing on the edge. And they were all so scared, and they were all so scared. And he said, fly. And so they flew. And they found they could fly. But before they flew, they kind of knew they couldn't. That's a shift, actually, isn't it? I must send that poem to you all, because it's absolutely what shift's about. You know, it's about, I can't do it. Oh, I can do it. But you don't fly by trying hard. No way. No way. You fly by letting go of something, actually. So this impulse to control actually gets in the way of a lot of what we do. I come across it all the time in helping people with presenting, talking at meetings, talking to groups of people who are daunting, who make one feel afraid. We all have those. Every single person. Actually, I'm reading, I don't know if people are with me on this, but I'm reading a book by Barack Obama, A Promised Land. And he talks about this kind of thing. Anyway, this ability to fly, no, we feel we've got to control. All right. But when we control, and speaking in public, wanting to control, we feel, okay, I've got to stop myself shaking, right? Keep my hands by my side, stop myself shaking. I've got to stop my voice shaking, so I've got to keep that very steady. I've got to keep calm. Can you hear all these got tos? They're not very good idea, right? I've got to keep calm, right? And now I'm ready to talk. Hello, everybody. My name is Judy Apps, and I'm here today to inspire you on all sorts of things to do with communication. Right? You know, stuck. I'm stuck because I'm trying to control. And in fact, there are many people. There are many people who are very high up in their organizations who use that as a strategy. In fact, sometimes people at the head of organizations see it as a sort of badge of honor to be able to sound exceedingly boring because they are exceedingly important, and therefore they have no need to be interesting for anybody at all, right? So they're robots, basically, and control doesn't help you in that. And yet there are many ways in which we seek to control what we do. It's in my book, The Art of Communication, the last one, I talk about left brain, right brain, which has advanced enormously since we first used to talk about it, because actually now we know what bits are lighting up all over the place. But basically, the left brain is more the rational part of us, and the part of us that wants to control what happens. And the right brain is intuitive. You have a speaker coming up in a minute, can't you? I mean, next hour, who's going to talk about intuition. So it's about intuition, it's about creativity, and it's about seeing things that are not black and white. Left brain likes black and white. This is the right thing to do, as our prime ministers love to say. This is the right thing to do. There is a wrong thing to do, but I've decided it's the right thing to do. And the right brain says, yeah, that's true, but for some people it might be, and for other people, and it might have been like that last year, but next year they see all the different possibilities. Now, if we're going to grow as people, if we're going to make that shift and fly, we have to see in Technicolor. We can't see in black and white. We've got to be there for everything that's there. So actually we have to give way of a certain control. And I want to give you a little picture of this. Let us think of you as a series of concentric circles. On the outside of the circle is the you that you're happy to show to the public because it feels pretty safe. It's the you that people know. It's the efficient you at work. It's the kind you at home. It's the you that does everything really well. I feel it's got a voice to go with it. So I'm putting on that sort of shiny, efficient voice to go with it. All right. Now, deep inside you and deep inside of all of us, there's a soft center that can feel exceedingly vulnerable. We all have that soft center. We all have that center that can very easily feel hurt, that can very easily feel attacked, that can very easily lose courage. And in between those, in a middle sort of circle, there's the chaotic, scared bit. And the outside of the circle is protected from that. I'm really glad that people don't see that I'm kind of all shaky just under the surface. They only see this. I used to talk about people who are just ordinary at home, and talk just ordinarily like I do with my English accent. And then they get to work and they go, whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, everybody, is everybody ready now to join? And they turn into a different person, yes? Because this is the person that has to be efficient, that has to live up to the job. But the little me inside feels I shouldn't be doing really because I'm really not good enough for that. But anyway, I do it. That's the outside. And just underneath is this really shaky bit. Right in the very, very middle of soft center is the light that is you. The light that is the beautiful you that has been asking since before you could speak to be able to shine. And that little you inside would love to come out. But what's standing in its way? Well, from the outside in, there's this sort of shiny crust, because actually people's outside person can be very shiny, very impressive, very, yeah. In fact, for some people it's really thick because they are super impressive, right? But to get to that little bit in the middle, we have to go through that crust, through the chaotic, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough, and oh, what would people think, and oh, I have to do it this way, and oh, when I was 4, I was told I was no good at public speaking, so how can I be now? All that stuff to get to the little center inside. But the only way that light is going to shine is if you let go of the crust around the outside, if you make a little hole in it. Risk the vulnerability of all that, ooh, and let the shining light out. And because it's a light, it will come out. It will come out, but we have to risk. And the name for the risk really is vulnerability. The first great TED talk that Brené Brown made was about vulnerability. Now she talks a lot about courage because vulnerability needs courage. But the courage to show a little bit of yourself. So coming back to conversation, here we are in conversation with somebody. We talk about everything that's safe. And that's a great way to start because you're beginning to get a conversation flowing. If you had more time than 5 minutes, you'd make sure it bounced both ways. So it wasn't just one person talking and the other in a typical scenario. Doesn't always work that way. All right. And then vulnerability becomes something you can try. Vulnerability might be asking a question when you're a bit scared to ask it, right? Instead of waiting for the other person to ask you. vulnerability might be saying something about you that the other person could take wrong if they wanted to. You know, like instead of pretending, you know, I've been doing conferences like this all my life. Yes, I'm really used to this sort of thing. Perhaps just say, how are you getting on? You know, actually, I've never done anything like this in my life before, but I'm really enjoying it. So you just pop something in like that the other person could walk over. They could say, oh, haven't you? What, never? Oh, yes. Little vulnerabilities. And as you go on with somebody, it doesn't matter what they say back, because what they say back is what they say back. But I remember writing in one of the books, actually, there's somebody who drops the odd little clue that the other person can pick up to get closer to you if they want to. They don't have to pick it up. So somebody's talking about, oh, have you been to Hong Kong? Yes, I've been to Hong Kong. I went on my way back from Australia when my mum died, actually. I was on my way back. Now, the person hearing that, you're talking about Hong Kong, really. So she can say, oh, yeah, yes, well, actually, I've been to Hong Kong too. Yes, have you seen so-and-so? And then you carry on talking about Hong Kong. You've dropped that really kind of quite a little brick, actually. I was doing it just before my mum died. So you could take a risk if it felt appropriate at that time. Say, oh, after your mum died. Oh, so, you know, just so that the other person can talk about it if they wanted to. It's a bit of a stark comparison, but you can drop little clues into a conversation if you felt ready. If the other person ignored it, that would be okay. You'd know it wasn't going to be something that you two were going to be talking about. But it might make them ask a question that created huge empathy. She might find out something about what happened to your mother, and she'd been in a similar situation, or she'd been in a tricky situation. It wasn't her mum, but it was her dad. And you started to trust one another because you'd begun to talk about something that was meaningful for both of you on a different level, on a level of feeling to start with, and even something deeper than that, you know, the deep meaning of some of these moments with people. So all those come from breaking the shell, allowing that just to not be there for a minute and let that little light shine out, the light that is you. So that's one way of looking at it. I have to say that I, and probably you, don't do that all the time. And the thing I talked about particularly, both in my last book and the TED Talk, actually, is something I call agendas. And agendas are things inside us that kind of make us want to do a particular thing. So we don't meet people sort of just as is. We meet them with some background desire or force. Let me give you a very typical one. Well, one I'm certainly guilty of. I'd like to say I have been guilty of, and that's very true, but, you know, still guilty of it. And that is the desire to please. All right, a lot of us, the thing we really want to do as soon as we meet somebody is we want them to like us, and we want to please them, basically. And that means we're super nice. Now, in terms of voice, which I suppose is my core passion, in terms of voice, what a lot of us do when we want to please people is we put on a very pleasing voice. Oh, I'm so pleased to see you. Oh, are you enjoying it? Oh, yes, I am too. It's amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing. I just love it. I love all these sort of things. I really find them, they do the heart good, don't they? It's just so wonderful. Okay, I'm laying it on very thick, but a lot of us actually have that voice, the voice that we never go down to no, and I really don't want to. We never go back to the 2-year-old. This is no way. I'm not going to do that. We say, oh yes. So you want it done by 6 o'clock today? Yeah, yes, that's all right. I think, yeah, no, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So, some of us do it the voice at home, some of us do it to work, but that wanting to please people voice is very, very often there. The other voice that I mentioned, so I just want to get rid of this little square in the middle. The other voice a lot of us use is that voice which is a kind of winning points voice. I really don't want to be sexist about this, but I do think that women are particularly good at this. I think sometimes men have different strategies, but this way of wanting to win without the other people kind of quite knowing you're winning. Again, there was one I used, which was about going on holiday with somebody, and they said, where did you go on holiday? And then the person said, I just went to the south coast of England. And the person who wants to be one up says, oh, lovely, yes, the south coast, England, you say, oh yes, lovely. Actually, yeah, we spent a month in the Hamptons, as a matter of fact. But I'm sure it was lovely. I'm sure it was lovely where you went. Yes, we usually actually travel to somewhere we've never been before. The Maldives is a great favourite of ours as well. But yeah, lovely. So we've done a point scoring basically. But if the group notices, then we go back to saying, well, actually, there's nothing like holidays near at home. I absolutely agree with you. So we sort of backtrack if we think, but if we think we've won, great, we've got away with it. We've shown that we're superior. We've shown that, we've got more money and we travel more. But we do it in a way that we want to hide. So these are agendas. And the trouble with agendas is they rule everything. If I'm doing the sexist thing and I said that was a bit of a female thing, maybe it's more of a man thing, just to clearly sort of just say you're superior. Oh, we never do that. God, I wouldn't be seen dead holidaying in Britain. And let me forget the men-women thing because I'm getting myself into a sticky hole. But the idea of winning. Then we've got the people who always speak with an image. So if I'm the chief executive, I always speak with the chief executive image. But the trouble with an image is it's not really you, an image, because you've put on a sort of best self thing, right? Either sort of, I'm a terribly nice person, or, I'm rather superior, or, I'm very efficient. And we play that. And there are two problems with this. One problem is that actually at some level other people are aware of it. If you're playing the superiority card, they're kind of aware of it. Even if they can't put a name of it, they're sort of aware of it. And the other downside of this is that people, sorry, I just looked at the clock and thought, stop talking, Judy. The other downside of this is that you don't get close to people. When you're putting on your thing, when you're playing your agenda, actually you're cutting off from other people. You're not with them. And you're not authentic. And you get close to people. You begin to trust each other when you're real. And one of the things that enables you to be real, if I just talk for 2 more minutes, one of the things that enables you to be real is allowing your body just to let go. Just give way a bit, because all these agendas have with them a certain stiffness, a certain of holding the shoulders. As if I'm wearing epaulettes, I'm important, or as if I'm not scared. So a letting go. So let's all do this all together. We're going to do it all together, so we won't be looking at each other. I want us to breathe out really fully, and then take a breath through your nose as if you were some animal that widens its nostrils to let breath in. So you go, let the breath out, and then you're widening your nostrils, flaring as if you're one of these animals that really flares its nostrils. What does that? Horse, perhaps? To let the air come back in again. All right, to let the air come back in again. You think about your lovely wide nostrils, but the air comes back again. And we're going to do it sort of together. So here we go with our huge breath out. Are you ready? Here we go. It's actually quite nice. I saw my face there. It was absolutely scary. So I hope you were tuning off with your own.
I'm going to watch on the video. I can't even imagine.
Oh. Who knows that they took a really good breath? Who knows that actually it was a pretty good breath? Yeah. The thing about a really good in-breath is that it always has a lot to do with the previous out-breath. I'm sure someone's been speaking about yoga this weekend. One of the things about yoga is the in-breath is often a release. Now, if you ask 5-year-olds, take a big breath in, they go, they make an effort, to take an in-breath. I've taken a huge in-breath. But actually the in-breath, that is a really lovely free in-breath, comes after a lovely big out-breath. It's almost a release. It's a wonderful release. When that happens, your brain starts to work again. If you're ever feeling fearful in any of the wonderful things you're going to do in your shift, just know that a released breath, a full breath, a wide nostril breath, if you like, because it's quite a lovely thing to do, is a free breath. And then when you've done that, you come into yourself. You come into yourself. And if as you do that, you realize that actually expressing who you are, which is your feeling, it's a huge part. It's a huge part of the truth. And by feeling, I don't mean, I'm actually feeling a little bit anxious here. I mean, your feeling is everything that goes into your voice. If I'm feeling determined, that kind of goes into my voice. And the breath was, no way. Oh, went low because I really meant it. The feeling, which is the whole body bit. You've been doing body work, haven't you? Body comes into it all. The feeling, or the feeling of gentleness. Think of your favorite smell. Our garden's full of flowers at the moment. Think of a beautiful smell. And then you want to speak about it. And the voice, what does the voice do when you smell a beautiful smell? Oh, that is so wonderful. The voice is a smelling, beautiful smell voice. Yeah. So that's where you become the real you. All right. So I have spent a long time. Do you know, when I imagined this, I imagined I'd sort of give kind of 6-word answers. And then, Anna, you'd fire another question at me. So thank you very much for listening to me develop where I'm going. It's really lovely to do. I want us to go back into a group again. I was going to suggest it was the same group. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. It seems to me, though, there's quite a lot of serendipity about how our groups end up. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that helps us get to a deeper place, a more authentic place, is going underneath the levels of, let's talk about stuff, into how is that for you? What does that mean to you? How is that important to you? And I have one more question, which was one that has to be asked really gently, because you can't ask it in a brisk sort of business-like voice. It's when are you most yourself? When do you feel most yourself? What's that about, when you're feeling most yourself? So we're going to get up in the chat in a minute 3 questions. What I'm suggesting, actually, when you question the other person, is simply, with all your natural empathy and kindness and gentleness, is to just ask one of those questions and then be a beautiful listener. You can do a tiny prompt if you like, but not the kind of prompt that is, oh, that happened to me too. Let me tell you about when it happened to me. Not that kind of prompt. The kind of prompt that enables the other person perhaps to give a deeper or fuller answer. So the first question is simply this: what do you love? What do you love? Okay. Now, if the person says, oh, I really love mechanical toys, and then they start to talk to you about them, the different colors they come in and the different clockwork mechanisms they have and where you can get them, just slip in an extra question, because this question has to be about the person, not about the thing. So if they start to talk about just the thing, then ask them the question, so what do mechanical toys do for you? What is it with you, mechanical toys, that you love? So you get them to talk about their relationship with this thing. But basically, what do you love? What's that about, what you love? Okay, that's the question number 1. Question number 2 is what's important. So what's important to you? A different way of asking this is, what matters very much to you? All right, and the other person says a little bit about that. And then my third question, I've already told you, is, when are you most yourself? We'll have, we'll have 4 minutes each way. Can you bring us back after 8 minutes? Because I didn't quite know how to get us back last time. So can you make
no,
sure?
it's my tech will do that. So no 60-minute to close room. Let's bring them back. Don't wait. So as soon as you see the close room thing, guys, close the room.
And that means you yourselves have to be responsible for a half time for you. So if you're asking the questions, just check, 4 minutes is the complete maximum. I think it's 3.5, really. 3.5 minutes, all right, to ask these questions and just see what comes from it. Finding that little star inside of yourself, which is the person asking the questions, that light inside you.
All right, send them off, Lindy.
Have fun.
Judy has some more generosity, for goodness sakes, for the group. So would you like to share what you're giving away, Judy?
Oh my goodness, I haven't got all the information. I'm sorry.
Oh, you said you were going to give away a copy of your book.
Yes, I am going to give away a copy of my book. So I'm going to give away a Kindle copy of my book. And I wanted you to, if you'd like it, to pop into the chat something that has meant something to you from today's session. So something that sort of opened up for you, or what it meant to you, a sentence, and without any justice whatsoever, I shall just pick one that my intuition just feels it wants to choose. So there's that. So, look.
There's some
right
good
fast,
stuff.
don't you? Oh, I'm going to the wrong place. Everything is about connection and communication. What is out of control is the enemy of learning. I drew a little picture of the shiny exterior of Shakespeare's Spirit and the light in the middle that really resonated. Oh, yes. Control is the enemy of learning to fly. More present now. Enjoying the present. Yeah. Oh, gosh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. Is there a new one coming up? Light comes out of you because it's light. It does. Allowing oneself to let go with the facilitate closeness. Allowing vulnerability, see what happens. And then to trust the inner voice, the little star. Right to shift is a call to fly, but still walking around with the flock. Deep inside there is a light that is you. And it will come out when you let go of control and chaos. They are so beautiful. I cannot believe that I actually suggested that I would choose one of these. Quite a few of them. Quite a few of them were about learning to. I would have chosen the very first one about learning to fly, and yet there were quite a few. And so, funnily enough, I'm here with Leah. Deep inside, there is a light with you, and that will come out when you let control go of control and chaos. Because that was sort of an adding of something for me as well. So that's absolutely lovely. So Leah, I want your email address so that I guess I can get that. Can I from you, Anna, or do I need to come home?
You know what? We will forward it to you. So we'll have her PM our tech, our just private message, the chat support, and we will get you to connect it. I will send it over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
And we are out of time. So thank you so much, Judy. That was fantastic. And our chat support has just thrown in also a free e-course that Judy offers on having a great conversation. We'll also be putting up her website so you can get in touch with her, connect with her. As I say, with everybody that's been on the show, it is with great pleasure that I bring these people to you, and they are worth connecting with. They are the people who help you shift.
Connect with you. I would love to connect with you further. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And the violin.
Thank you so much, Judy. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I can't wait to see you again.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.